What is up, everybody? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Expert Mentors Live. I'm super excited. We've got the one and only Tina Caul back on with us. Tina's been on several times. If you guys have missed any of the previous episodes she was on, go find them, go get them. It's absolute just gold. We're in, geez, Tina, I mean, this is episode, what are we, 215, 216. So we've really been running with this, these conversations and pulling the best of the best out of the Honey Badger Nation. And I really appreciate you making the time again to jump back in and pour back into this awesome community and really around, one of the most important topics and processes. If you really want to truly grow and scale your business, your organization, it really comes down to, it comes down to the who equation and really unlocking that. And, there's so many do it this way, that way, or whatever, but, the process that we've gone through, implementing EOS, getting into the right fit, you taking and running with the EOS integrator role and really starting to unpack and understand, the functional organization, the right who's. And I'm super excited to really dive in today.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me. I love to geek out on this stuff. Yay.
Yes, it is. It's awesome.
Yay.
So, Honey Badger Nation, I mean, we're well over 13,000 honey badgers now, which is insane. Just thinking, when we came into the company, they had just surpassed 4,000.
Yeah.
So, as massive as we are and growing, and shame on all of you if you don't know who Tina is, but make sure I know you guys will and get connected with her. Give just a little short background, kind of, your story, and then kind of how it leads us into today's conversation.
Yeah. So I've been a real estate agent for 24 years. I started in Michigan for the first 7 years. 2006 rolled around, market crashed. I went from making 150 grand a year, which I thought I was rich, to making 40. And I was like, well, this sucks. So I was about to leave the business. A magical fairy came into my life by the name of Mike Ferry and changed the trajectory of my business. It's that first mentor, mentee relationship where it's like, oh my God, he's the Messiah. And what he taught me was time management skills, prospecting skills, scripts. I'd never used a script to save my life. And when I knew that formula, because I have a little bit of an analytical mind, I was like, okay, well, I'm not that smart. I'll follow the formula. These people are rich. And I did. I followed the process, and my business went from $40,000 that next year. We went right into 150, but it gave me the courage, I will say, to say, you know what? I'm in Michigan. I live in a place, in a town where 6 months out of the year, the wind hurts my face. Why the hell am I doing this to myself? Where would I go if I could be in this awful, godforsaken place? And I moved down to North Carolina where it's sunshine all the time. And so we moved in 2009. I was brand new in the market, didn't know a soul, used the Mike Ferry scripts and process. And that first 6 month period, or second 6 month period that we were there, sold 30 homes, the next year 55, then 80, then sat at 130 deals per year, like a machine. I didn't enjoy that process, but I was making over $1 million a year. So I got the money part right. I just didn't get the happiness part right, the leverage piece. And so when I hired my first partner agent, I saw leverage and I tasted it. And I was like, oh, my weekends came back, and I got rid of the buyers. Then I started becoming a heavy listing agent. I was with Remax for 9 years, which was fine. It was a great experience, but I became the top, fish in that organization. And so then moved to Keller Williams for 18 months. That was fine too. Great company, but they looked to me to lead. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm still growth minded. I want to lead. I want to be led. I want to grow. And so I capped at 72 million with 4 agents at Keller Williams. And then thank God, Michelle Sayward, in our EXP organization, and a Honey Badger, reached out to me and said, hey, you got to look at this model. And so I rejected her for about 3 months. And finally she caught me in a weak moment, and I watched some video. I think it was Rob Flick. And immediately I followed that discernment, that gut. And I was like, this is going to work. And it gave my people the freedom that I was craving. So it was like, we all became equals overnight. I literally gave them all team leadership overnight. Hey, you want to be an owner? Ta-da, you are. And so I moved the team in April of 2019. I got out of production a year later, and we grew the team now. We're 4 years into it at EXP. We went 72 million to 135 to 235. Last year, 400 million. 850 sold and pending, and we became the top 5 team at EXP Realty. So
so amazing. It's so
yeah, very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah. And, for you guys listening in, that the scripting, the details, how you develop those capabilities and how it transfers. Those were some of the earlier conversations that when Tina was on before with Expert Mentors in this series, we really went deep on that. So I highly recommend, you guys checking those out. And, that's what I love when you develop those capabilities, those skills, they transfer, right? And same conversation with GoGo, right? And I was like, you're not a damn tree. You've got skills that will transfer. You complain about the wind in your face, like you said, for 9 months out of the year, go somewhere where you want to go. And it was like a light bulb. And I think a lot of people just don't have that understanding, because when you do have those capabilities, they do transfer. And so getting to where you guys are at, and I'm going to let you kind of ease into this conversation, but you were running a machine, right? You got the money down, but you didn't get the happiness factor down.
Right.
Why do so many agents early on resist that leverage piece?
I think that they are self-led. They understand that they can motivate themselves. They're self-led. And they resist it, I think, because of a weak mindset. They still have a scarcity mindset, and nobody's shown them that it's okay to spend money and invest in yourself. It's okay to hire a coach. It's okay to grow. And they're in keep mode. I got to keep this money. And so even though a lot of them, I have friends making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year as independent agents going on the hamster wheel, and they're so afraid to set up the infrastructure. And I think that there's going to be the people that truly have an entrepreneur mindset and that truly are the worker bees, and they have a job, and they'll never walk away from having security of that job. And so it's us entrepreneurs that go, you know what? Risk is scary, yes, but to be a good entrepreneur, you got to take some risks. You got to fail forward. I mean, you bet on yourself 10 times, you might lose 2, but you won 8, so you're going to actually have the ability to have discernment in those risks. So I think that that's where the first mindset is, that they don't believe. The other thing is, just because you're a great salesperson doesn't mean that you're a good leader. No, people teach us sales. They teach us the transactional tactical process of, I always say the 3 leverage pieces that everybody has to have in their business is systems leverage, technology leverage, and people leverage. And we know systems. I have a system for listing a home, for buying a home, all that. I have technology, right? We're using technology right now through Zoom. They don't understand the people leverage piece, and nobody teaches them that, because we're not handing people, leadership books as a salesperson. And so just because you're a great salesperson doesn't mean you have interpersonal skills, doesn't mean you're a good coach, doesn't mean you can give great feedback. A lot of people I know, and I'm speaking from experience here, this is what I'm struggling right now. Just because I am a salesperson doesn't mean I can look at a staff member and give great feedback. And the reason I couldn't give great feedback is because how it made me feel. And so I was a weak leader on giving great feedback because I didn't want to upset the person. I didn't want to make them feel bad. And so I think those are the things that led me down this path of like the last year of really self-reflection. I've taken every freaking DISC assessment, Berkman assessment, Enneagram, you name it, I've taken it, because I am doing my work, my self-work. Because if you have trouble in an organization, I say start with the leader. It's your fault. That's right. It's your fault. I blame me because I didn't do the work to understand. And when you see teams and teams fall apart, it's the leader's fault. They don't know how to lead. And they didn't spend the time that they did to get successful in their business. They spent a lot of time learning how to be tactical and learning systems. They didn't spend time on themselves and how to lead. And that's what led me down that journey. It's like, I need to be reading other books now. I need to be doing other work now that I failed to do because I didn't need it. I was leading myself. I like myself. I did a great job. Great job. So I think that's really the first step was the acknowledgement of the failure and the acknowledgement of the knowledge gap. And then once you acknowledge that, that's where you and I had the conversation of, hey, John, something's not working. I'm implementing EOS. I'm doing it, but it's self-implementation, which is about 40 to 50% good. Like we weren't implementing it well. And you told me about fractional leadership and fractional integration. And I'm like, yeah, fractional, that sounds amazing. I can get these amazing people to come at a fractional price. And that was the thing, because at some point we have to set our ego aside and say, it's either ego or money. Which one do you want? Because you can't have both. So I have to say as a leader, oh my God, I'm failing at this. And I see a gap, and my business acumen got me here, but it's not going to get me there.
Right.
And so that was the first step in the leadership journey, is acknowledging the problem, and the problem is you.
It is. And, a couple things come to mind, it's that belief, there really are no business problems there. It's leadership problems. And that's where you have to go first. And you get to a certain point, even if you're in production still, and you're starting to build some support and some leverage in the people aspect, it's leadership first, then listings, right? Leadership and listings as you continue to stay in production and grow your organization. And what you're referring to there, it's that concept Jim Collins talks about, is understanding your relation, really embracing which stronger relationship do you have? Do you have a stronger relationship with the mirror or a stronger relationship with the window? And what he means by that is that, if your relationship is stronger with the window, it means you're really good at pointing out other people's flaws. And he said, where we grow and excel as leaders is that we change and we have a better relationship with the mirror, to where we're really able to really look and self-reflect. And, when you look at, okay, well, why are people leaving? There, if you have an exit, and it's, it is really around the leadership and being able to support them and understand their objectives, their goals. And does your business model, does your environment, does your ecosystem, does your culture, cultivate and support them to achieve what they're wanting to achieve? So, Tina,
and you could also say real quick to expand on that, John, why are they not coming? Why am I not attracting them? So so either you already had a team and you attracted people and then they ran out the door, or why am I struggling to attract people, whether it's to EXP, to Keller Williams, to whatever, to your team. So that same self-reflection at that point, it's like, if you want to grow a team and all of a sudden you're like, I have trouble recruiting. And I'm like, we have people breaking down our door to join our team. We don't even have a recruiter on staff. They just come. Why? So that's also another self-reflection point. Why are they coming?
Why are they coming? Yeah, that's a great point for everybody listening in. I mean, that's just that self-reflection, and find out why, ask, right? People are leaving or coming, hey, what's drawing you to us? What's attracting you to us? And also, if people are leaving, right, get that exit interview if you can, pull it from them. Where do you not feel supported? Some will tell you the truth, but some won't. A couple things, Tina, you were talking about, that self-reflection and doing the work on yourself is really, it's, Dan Sullivan's unique ability concept, right? Understanding what you're the best in the world at. And then, and this kind of where I know you've seen it, probably even experienced it. We've done the same thing, is that, if we don't do that work, we then, when we know we're busting at the seams, we're a coach or somebody tells us, hey, you need to get some people, you need to get some help. Where they've messed up is that they go and they reach out for people just like them, instead of looking for people to complement them.
Yes.
Can you kind of unpack that a little bit and explain that for everybody?
Well, I was just in San Diego at the Fast Forward Movement, mastermind, and this is exactly what I spoke on. It was like, I told a story as to my first assistant. And so she was amazing on paper. She had worked, in management. She was an executive assistant on paper. I mean, we disked her. We did all the things. We hired her. And so in my imagination, I'm imagining like somebody that's like, hey, boss, I did all that Google spreadsheet stuff for you last night. I cleaned up your drive and then all the projects that you're doing, I put them on a spreadsheet for you, color coded them. Oh, and here, by the way, here's your cappuccino with 2 pumps of vanilla. That's what I'm expecting, right? This person that's this like, analytical genius, this organizational unicorn. And what you get is, I tell a story where I walk into her office and there's sticky notes everywhere, notebooks everywhere, and she's frazzled. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm the ideas, notebook having, post-it loving, CRM hating visionary with the head in the clouds. Why did I just hire somebody just like me? Yeah. And you keep missing it and you go, why did I get this wrong? And I think it's because, again, we are attracted to the energy. We're attracted, like attracts like. And so if you don't do the self-reflection to go, what are my weaknesses? What are my strengths? What's my strengths finder? And you're actually looking for somebody that's sort of opposite of you, depending on the role that you're looking to fill. And if you don't understand or do the testing and the personality assessments to get there, that's where the miss keeps happening. And then you've got frustration, you've got unhappy people in their roles, and you've got unhappy leaders going, I can't do anything right. I can't get this hiring thing right. So that leads into, EOS. EOS talks about right person, right seat. And so when they did that assessment, I was like, oh, this is great. Does this person meet the core values of the company? Sure. Yeah, they're great. They have courage. They have grit. And that's sort of like, cookie cutter. And you're like, yeah, that's a great person. They want it. They get it. They have the capacity to do it. So you put that person in the seat, and then all of a sudden you realize, fuck, I messed up again, because this is where the Pat Lencioni the sixth type of working genius comes in. This was everything for me, that book. And so when I read the book, actually Terry, my operations manager, sent that to me. She's like, you have to read this. This is our problem. What it talked about is that we all have 6 working genius, all of us. The different genius are a sense of wonder, those people that ask a question. So every project starts with somebody asking a question. Hey, John, how could we get your coaching company? How could we get more customers for your coaching company? Oh, and now you've got the second sense of genius, which is the ideas person. That's me. I'm an I. Right. I got an idea, John. I got an idea. You could do this. You could do that. You could do that. Right. So I'm going to spit out a bunch of ideas. I love that stuff. Then you have the D's, the discernment people that go, hey, John, you've got these 10 ideas. 8 of them suck. Those 2, those are pretty good. But that one, my gut tells me that's the one. I can't explain it, John. Don't ask me to break it down. It's just a gut feeling. You got to trust me. Those are the discerners. And the way I explain those people is when you have a husband and wife, and let's say the ideas person is the wife and the husband's the discerner, and they're like, oh, I have all these ideas. And then you come in with your discernment going, yeah, but that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. And they're like, you don't support my dreams. And you're like, no, dum-dum, I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to not waste your time here, because these are going to fail. I love you. That's why I'm being the curmudgeon. And so the discerners are the ones that you go to for all the friendship advice. Then you have the galvanizers. Those are the people that go, great, that's an amazing assignment. I'm going to get behind it. I'm going to rally the troops. I'm going to inspire the troops. I'm going to get everyone behind this initiative. Then you have the helpers, which is the most that you need in an organization, or the enablers, the helpers. Oh, you got a project? I want to help just for the sake of helping. I don't care what it is. I want to help you. And then finally, you have the tactical people that sort of land the plane, that get the project to completion. They wake up with checklists and they're just so excited to check things off the box. So when you think about workflow in a group setting from a 30,000-foot view, the wanderers and the I people, they're up in the clouds, right? They're starting with questions, their heads are in the clouds, and they're flying the plane up here. That's the form of ideation. That's ideas stage, ideation. The next step is a little bit lower. It's 15,000 to 20,000 foot view. That's the discernment people and the galvanizers. They're in the activation stage of the project. And so they make sure the project is good, land on a project, and then they go inspire the troops. And then finally, you're at a 5,000 foot view where you're landing the plane. It's the enablers that are helping and the tenacity people that are taking the project and landing the plane without the barf bags. What starts to happen is when you are in the ideas phase and wonder, let's say you're in a meeting, and all of a sudden that tactical person's like, hey, so what are the steps of that idea? And you're like, wait, we just went from 30,000 feet in the clouds down to 5,000 feet. Like, we're all getting out our barf bags going, what the hell? We're not in the tactical phase yet. That's where you're sort of missing it in a group setting. And, unless you read the book, you might not be tracking with me, but it made so much sense to me that we go from ideation, activation to implementation. And a lot of times we skip that middle section, and everyone's going, you have terrible ideas. And you're like, no, you just can't get a project to completion. And you're pointing fingers in an organization and nobody knows why, but it's because we didn't use our 6 geniuses in the appropriate order for the project. Right. And so you can actually team map, and I've done this now, and see where the gaps are in the organization and go, oh my God, the reason our organization is so stagnant, it's not growing. We don't have an ideas person. We don't have good ideas on this team. We have tenacity people. We're getting projects through, but our projects suck. We need an ideas person. or we don't have tenacity people. We've got lots of ideas and shiny objects on this team, but we don't have the people to get projects to completion. We need tenacity people. So when you're doing EOS, right person, right seat, yeah, do it from the core values perspective. Do it from, do they have it, want it, have capacity, but know their genius so they can work in that genius 80% of the time. And you avoid that person sitting in a seat where if a working frustration is tenacity and you've got an I in the tenacity seat, I don't want to be in the tenacity seat. I'm the ideas person. So I'm going to hate my life. And that's going to trickle down to the organization. And that is what was the aha moment for me is, hire the people, put them in the right seat, but make sure they're using their genius.
Mm-hmm. No, I was tracking with you. I love it. For you guys listening in, she was referring to Patrick Lencioni's, I think it might be his newest book.
It is.
The Sixth Working Genius.
Yeah.
He also has one that he put out a few years back called The Ideal Team Player.
Yeah,
that
great.
In all of their work and research that, they find, the hungry, humble, smart, which are the 3 key characteristics of the ideal team player. So that's helpful in looking for that. It's not like one thing, guys. There's a collection of things that you have to kind of work this puzzle together, and it goes back to the leverage of system. And this is probably outside of your client acquisition. I still believe this is probably number one system and process in your organization is being able to hire and attract and bring on and get the right people, even with your salespeople, right? Getting them, making sure that they're working in their genius, and so really understanding and diving into kind of what he talks about. You could build an empire just off of his work, off of his books. The Advantage is probably one of my favorite business books of all time. There's just so much in there. But what you were talking about there, Tina, I want to just kind of emphasize is where the finger's pointing into is when you bring these people in, and this is a leadership growth. This is a jump in leadership is communication.
Correct.
And one of the things that we experienced and I've seen so many times is the higher that you move up the success ladder, and early on, right? When you're small, you can just talk out loud and brainstorm and like whatever, and kind of talk. But what happens when you start adding these different geniuses into the room is that if you're not clear in declaring what type of conversation we're having, they could take that and run with it. So what we always say is, the rule of communication is always get permission.
Right.
Always declare what type of conversation we're having.
Correct.
Hey, we're just in idea phase here.
Right.
Hey, we're going to move to make a decision, but we'll declare that at that point. And so I think that's just really helpful for everybody listening in as we're progressing, as you guys are growing with your leadership capabilities. Just make sure that everybody in the room understands what type of conversation we're having.
And this actually, people are like, well, but I don't ever want to own a team and I don't ever want to be, I'm sorry, you're leading families, right? We've got, hey, we're going to go to Europe. Who is going to plan that trip? If you've got 2 people in the house that are IDs, like me, we're going to research the shit out of the where we're going, but nobody wants to plan the damn thing. Nobody wants to get the flights. Nobody wants to do that stuff. And you're like, then you're fighting over who does what and why, who wants to pay the bills. My husband and I always fight over who's going to pay the bills because it's tenacity work. It's like, it's tease. We're both, that's a working frustration for us. And so when you start to acknowledge that, you're like, oh, no wonder Christmas dinner can be, I'm like, I don't want to cook the food. He's like, I don't want to cook the food, but I want the food. I got an idea of how the party should look, but now I have to go hire chefs, and that takes all the stress away because I don't enjoy that. I just hate cooking. Sorry. So that can help in family life or your kids. My kid's going off to college. He's 18 years old. I had him do his working genius. And so he's the team leader on his basketball team. He loves to help people. He loves to coach. It said that he should come back as a camp counselor, something to that effect, where his day doesn't look the same. You're not putting him in a cubicle, and he has that ability to inspire others. I have to make sure that he understands himself going into college at 18 years old. He could change, but for now, he knows his disc, he knows his Enneagram, he knows his working genius. So he has that background to start being self-aware to go, hey, I'm 18, my mom's shoving this shit down my throat, but he's actually using some of the thing now. He's like, Mom, you're in wonder mode. That's not my genius. And I'm like, I love that he is listening. And so
Yeah.
he's going to be that far ahead than a human that's just going through the unconscious motions of school. He's actually going to maybe be more intentional about the classes that he chooses, working in his genius for later in life. And I was like, that's huge. It's huge.
Such a big get. And, it's one of those things that it's easy to look back and reflect over the mishaps and the mistakes made over the years of not getting this right. So unpack a little bit of kind of what you look for. Let's maybe get down. I know we have you in the clouds, but let's see if we can get down to on the ground, laying the plane here for everybody, with really kind of setting that position up for success before you even talk to a human about filling this role. Like, what is that initial groundwork that you look at when you're building out kind of the structure? And maybe we can take it through a progression, Tina, like that agent, right? That is flipping from the scarcity to the growth mindset that, hey, I'm getting leverage. I know I can't do this anymore. My quality of life is suffering. My relationships are suffering. My health is suffering.
Yeah.
I want happiness. What should they be thinking about? Because typically at that point, they'll hire out of pain instead of out of gain.
Right.
And so, like, if you were going to lay it out, hey, you need to be thinking about this, you need to think this, and then we can kind of progress, and then we can talk about, how they expand the functions moving forward.
Well, I think I'm a big proponent of, like, self-discovery. And I know that I'm in the right field. I know that I didn't know what the working genius was before, but I knew I loved to help people. And I was like, yeah, but my working genius says that I don't like to help people. E is an enablement. And I don't actually, like, if you had told me there was a church bake sale and they needed volunteers, I'm running the other way. So I'm like, right. It made me feel like an a-hole, but I'm like, I'm actually a really nice person, but that to help people in that capacity, that doesn't fill my cup. What I understood was I actually like helping people because I like them to bring me a problem where I can use my discernment and sort of go, oh, here's what you can do. And here's the ideas. And so I'm in the right field for creativity. I think for some agents, if I'm being honest, they're in the sales environment and they hate their life. They hate the job. They hate the unsteadiness of it. They hate meeting new people. And so if they understood themselves more, they could go, hey, so maybe it's time for me to build a team, because I actually am a T person. I'm a DT and I love tenacity. I love to put the pieces together. I hate being out with the people. And so do I make a decision in that moment to take the $200,000 of the $500,000 that I use in my life, or that I make in my life every year? Do I actually transfer some of those funds, that 200,000, and actually start building a team? Because a team is a second business. It's an actual business. If you're a single agent, you have a job.
Yeah.
You have a job. If you're an agent with a couple of salaried employees, you still have a job. When you start adding people to your team and you start bringing in, people that are salespeople, all of a sudden you just decided to build an organization, whether it's one or two people. And so what I always tell agents when they're going from individual agent to a team is, you have two businesses. And if you want to build a team, you better put the right people in the right seats over here to manage the agents, to help the agents, to grow it for you while you're funneling money out of this one, out of your job, to build your little business over here. And I know, like, for instance, on my team, we make $2,200 a transaction. I know my costs. That's my net profit. I know that every agent that I bring onto the team, they sell 16 to 18 homes. We're going to make about $30,000 as a company per agent. If I'm making $500,000 over here, I need to know exactly what each agent will bring the company, so I can then move that seat into the visionary, tenacity, or work in my genius on the team. So I think for a lot of agents, they have to decide, where do I want to live in the sales process? Am I an entrepreneur? Do I want to run a business? How much money am I going to have to funnel from my current sales job to build this McDonald's over here, because it's a second business? And what happens is they become part-time agents or big part-time leaders. And so they're like, oh, this doesn't work. I'm like, well, do you have a full-time job right now? Yeah, I sell 70 homes a year. Okay, where do you have the time to sit in the owner's seat? Where do you have the time to sit in the integrator role? Where do you have time to sit in the finance seat? Where do you have time to sit in the marketing seat? You don't have time. And so you're cheap and you want to keep all the money, but then go open a McDonald's. You don't have time to open a McDonald's. If I asked you to open a coffee shop right now, Susie, with selling 70 homes a year, would you open that coffee shop? No, I don't have time. Why do you have time to open a team? It's a second business, and they don't see it that way. And so I would say to them, be ready for the ride. The first thing I did when I left Remax as an agent selling 130 homes a year is I hired an operations/team leader. And I said, I'm going to delegate $100,000 of my $1 million into somebody that can help me grow this team and help my people while they're growing. So that way my capacity still, I'm bringing in the money. I'm the piggy bank right now. I can't leave this post. And that's the mistake agents made, is they leave the post too soon. Yeah,
they do. They leave the post too soon. And then a lot of the challenge too, is that they get themselves, in such a lifestyle situation to where, if they leave that post too soon, but they're still have to fund their lifestyle, it'll get them in trouble. The bank account will go away fast. We learned that lesson the hard way, trying to transition Jay out. It took us, 3 times to get him fully out, but it took us understanding what you're explaining to everybody right now.
Right.
Is that, when you get into that business, and we can get into compensation, we get into that business, you get paid for what you do in that business.
Correct.
You don't get paid over here like your job, that lifestyle that you did, because I'll be honest with you guys, early on, until you get to a certain threshold, selling houses, you're going to make more money selling houses yourself than trying to run and grow and build this business.
That's so true.
And we got in trouble because, Jay had built up a great lifestyle and we started to build the business, but it was really dependent upon his production.
Right.
And we were pulling him out because he was building Kinder Reese coaching with Mike. And so, but yet the business still needed to fund his lifestyle, and he wasn't doing anything in the business. Like he really did not need to get paid because he didn't do anything in the business other than, maybe chairman of the board, if you will. Right. Because I was, CEO, head of company, running everything, but we were still having to make sure that we compensated him, but we learned that lesson the hard way. And so I think that's just a good indication as you guys are transitioning over. And, you touched on it briefly for just a second from EOS, when you look at and you create the function, whatever it is, right. Marketing, and then what are the 3 to 7 responsibilities, and then what are the measurables, how you measure success.
Right.
But you said, okay, do they get it? Do they get the job? Do they get the function? Do they want it? And then you said capacity.
Yeah.
And so capacity is not only time, but it goes the physical, the mental, emotional capacity as well.
Yes.
And so you have to take that into consideration, is that, here I am, I'm about to leave my post and build my McDonald's, right? Do I have some capacity? Am I in a situation to where I can handle it from a capacity standpoint? I think is a key thing to be aware of.
Am I in the right? Yeah. Like if you knew, let's say you're working genius and you were a galvanizer, like rah helper, to run a team, you got to get tactical. Like I love the strategy. Like to me, it's like, if we're going to be in a session, that's fine. I feel really good. But like talking about this gets me excited. So therefore I'm going to geek out over the systems and the processes and just the overall vision of the team, because that gets me excited. So if I knew that wouldn't be exciting to me, then don't open a team, don't start a team, or go find your partner that has that capacity, like a John Kitchens, right? If Jay's like, I hate that stuff, I don't want to do that, I'm done selling homes. Okay, well, we'll work from your legacy, Jay, of what you built. We'll help this team. The problem is when you step out too soon, the engine dies, right? The money-making engine dies, like you said. I tell my team all the time, like, I'm worthless to you guys right now. I don't sell homes, right? So, I mean, obviously I help, but it's about our agents. It's about them. It's about building their lives right now and making sure that our vision, number one, my job as an owner is making sure we're always profitable. And so my agent, I have an open P&L with them. They know exactly what we make per deal. I'm like, we make $2,200 a transaction. You guys make on average $5,000. You're making more than me. And they know, as like, kind of like shareholders, hey, we're going to hire this coaching program. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you want it? Do you not? Because it's really about them. And so when they understand that my job is also to make money and be profitable, they're okay with how much profit I make because it's open.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's that transparency there. And you know, that's where the trust is built as well, right? It's my favorite definition of trust is authenticity times time, right? Being vulnerable, being transparent times time is what builds trust. And also, you know, a deep understanding of what we're trying to accomplish that allows us to move a lot faster. So when we look at Tina, I'm just curious because I haven't had the opportunity to dive in fully. I told you I grabbed a copy of the book. I think it hit that weekend. I was out at the airport and I just grabbed it. How early on, right? It's a partner. It's just maybe you got a couple characters. And by the way, what you described for everybody listening in, we've all heard the analogy from checkers to chess. And what Tina was just describing is that's exactly what just happened, right? It changes on you. And that's the beautiful thing with chess and checkers. It's the same board. Your pieces just change instead of pieces that just do certain things. Now you have specialized in their genius. So it's a great analogy, a great way to think about it. How, you know, early on, right? Salary cap or your responsibility to run a profitable organization. So how can people be multiple geniuses? How does that work? Right. It's like, well, there's 6 geniuses. Do I have to have 6 geniuses? Can one person be multiple? Yeah.
So everybody has them all, right? So you have the ability to work. So let's say you, John, were trained as an EA and you're like, I hate the tenacity work, but you were trained that way. You just got a job early in, you know, college. And you're like, I've been an assistant in corporate America forever. And you work in that capacity. It doesn't mean that you can be great at that job. In fact, this is about happiness. You can be amazing at landing the plane. You know, they bring you the pie and you bake it and you pull it out of the oven. You go, ta-da, here's the project. We finished it. It just means that is your working frustration. That is not where you jump out of bed and you're happy to go into work. The goal is to have your staff jump out of bed and go, it doesn't even feel like work. To me, I love real estate so much. It doesn't feel like work anymore because I'm out of the day-to-day. I hated going and meeting the buyers and the sellers. It was not I lost the excitement of it. Was I good at it? Sure. But I lost the excitement. So I think this is more about finding who you are, finding your working frustrations, and then delivering that to your team in a way that goes, hey, dude, I want you in a role that you're like bouncing out of bed, can't wait to get to the office, and you're working past 5 because you're just so excited about the project that we're working on. You know, the thing that came into my mind when you're talking about agents and building these teams, right now we have a lot of agents that are team leaders that are moving to a company I think it's called Place, right? And they're moving these companies now that it's a genius model. Hey, I'm going to come, John, and I'm going to put your business. I'm going to help you run the business, and you're going to give me 50% of your business. Basically, it's a great model, right? For them, that person that's going to go do that, you know, they have to make about 20 to 25% profit margin. If you're a really good team, most teams are making 10, 12 or nothing, right? I mean, some teams are like, we made nothing last year. I'm like, just shut it down, just move on. You know, so if you're trying to make a 20% profit margin, 25, and you have to give 10% to Place, I'm making 10%. You're not really running a team that you love doing. You're not good at it. You're just investing in a McDonald's, and you're a investor, and you're going to put yourself through hell trying to actually do all the work. Place is going to come in and advise you, but you still have to run that engine. Guess what? You don't really like running a team. You should not be doing this. You should walk away. You should find your genius and go do it, because to push a round peg into a square hole, that's exactly what's happening with a lot of these team leaders that failed at running teams. And they're like, I'm failing. I hate this thing. I need Place to come save me. I think Place is a great company. You probably should just not do that though, because it's just, in my mind, it was not a good fit anyway. And I don't know. That's my opinion, and I could be completely wrong, but that's how I see those types of companies coming in. It's like, it probably just wasn't a good fit. Go find what you're really good at and go focus on that brings you joy. Because now you're going to just be pulling your hair out trying to work with another entity in a job that you hated in the beginning, that you failed at, and no amount of advice or advisement is going to fix everything.
Right. Yeah. 100%. And I've got a few clients that are going through that process. Jumped on there with them, and where they were lacking in their genius was that operational side. Probably, where it would fall, coming down to land the plane, was just lacking. And it was taking time away, because you got to go still make those hires, those right who's,
And lead them.
So it kind of, leaves that's where I see kind of where they're going to kind of help fill a little bit of the void, is in what they bring in that genius aspect.
Sure.
But yeah, you still, they're not the savior. You still have to lead.
That's every day. You have to, it's sort of like me saying, I'm going to hire a VA to help me check my email. That VA will never respond like I respond. They'll do a little bit of the heavy lift. They'll do a little bit of the advisement. But at the end of the day, if you can't figure out where the holes are and see the holes and have someone with boots on the ground every day in your business, my financial advisor, I call them and go, here, look at it. But they're not right behind me when my spending habits are poor. Like you're still going to have a gap, is my feeling. And these people are still going to struggle. And so they have to do the work themselves and really fill the gaps and learn how to be a better leader. You got to do the work. There's no plug and play solution. So I think it'll be great. I'm not demonizing the company. I think it's genius. It's just, I don't know that it's going to be the cure for a lot of these people that are struggling.
Right. And I think where the cure can come in, Tina, is everything that we're kind of talking about here. Yeah, we were talking about who's, but we're really talking about leadership. Right. And, I love even Curtis Johnson's take even on growing an organization and growing, just if you're focused on rev share, building that organization. He said, it's all leadership. He goes, all agent attraction is leadership. Yeah. And what we're talking about, even going through the six, going through the six genius, going through DISC, going through Enneagrams, going through
Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, I mean, I say take the Colby as well, because then that tells you kind of where you fall short. It helps with the six genius, like they all work together. Yeah. But it really comes down to, and just my mind keeps coming back to everything you're talking about. And my coach, I asked him the question last year. I had him on the podcast, and I said, hey, as humans, what are like, where do we need to be developing, right? Where do we need to be going deep on? And Ryan Holiday calls swarm, right? You're swarming a specific topic and you're going deep. You're not just scratching the surface. You're like going way deep. Yeah. He goes two things. He goes, number one is emotional intelligence. Yes. And he said, if you want to, like, where you can take your leadership and you can take who you are as a human to the next level is going deep on emotional intelligence and understanding that there's the 5 core tenets of emotional intelligence. And the one that we've been talking about for most of the conversation is really around self-awareness. Yeah. And so being able to, really be truly aware of how we operate, how we think, what's our genius, where are we short, what's our unique ability. Right. And then the other, I think the most important one out of that is empathy, but the one that you keep coming back to is motivation, right? Nobody can motivate us. People can inspire us, but motivation is internal. And that's why it's part of emotional intelligence. But what I'm hearing too, that I want to kind of bring this full circle for everybody, is that motivation, there's 5 pieces of motivation. And the first 2 that we're really familiar with, is the carrot and the stick. Mm-hmm. And so anytime that we put a reward on whatever, it's great, but we always have to keep increasing. The carrot always has to get bigger. That's why it's a form of motivation, but it's not a sustainable form of motivation. And then the other is obviously the stick, right? We can shame ourselves into doing some things. But where it really gets good, and I think this is because you made me think about this, that you want your people jumping out of bed in the morning to want to be a part of something, and they're in their genius, they're working in their unique ability. They're like, it does not feel like work. It's because it's fulfilling something for them intrinsic, right? Extrinsic is the carrot. Intrinsic is something that aligns to them and their genius. Right. And I loved how you put it, because sometimes it's hard to figure out what that is, but I think if you can figure out kind of where you play in your genius, I think it'll be easier to find it. And then it's like, it has to be fun. It has to be fun. And then most importantly, do you love it? And
Right.
those are the sustainable forms of motivation. Intrinsic, I'm in my genius, I'm having fun, it doesn't feel like work, or it's
Right.
play almost.
Right.
And I absolutely love the thing of whatever
Right.
it is. And I think us as leaders, it's our responsibility to find those people. Once we got core value fits, they're bought into the vision, the belief, but helping them uncover, because I would say 99% of the people out there don't know what we're talking about here. They haven't done the work to
No.
figure out what their genius is. And so I feel like it's our responsibility as leaders is to help them find that. And if that means that, you don't have a seat for them, then you go help them find a seat somewhere that they can do that.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to get frustrated with them. And this is what I always tell people, and this is empathy. If you're frustrated with the human being on your team, just imagine how they feel.
Exactly. And that's the big one. Like, I think you can easily find out after you read the book and do your self-assessment. If somebody invited you to a meeting and said, hey, this is an idea planning meeting, we're going to be whiteboarding things. And you're sitting there and you're like, I'm so dumb, I can never come up with anything. These people are so much smarter than me. Why? They're not smarter than you. They're just exercising that, that thing that just comes naturally to them. And I can't explain it. Like, so I'll be walking through an airport, I'll see a sign, I'm like, oh my God, I got 6 ideas to like, it just comes to me. And I'm like, it's not anything that I learned. It's just a natural thing. And so if you're like the type of person where you're like, okay, I want to be boots on the ground creating SOPs all day, don't invite me to that meeting.
Don't call me to that one either.
Don't call me to that one. Like, I want to do this. And what really got me, John, is when people were like, I think the other thing, and I did a Berkman assessment, and the Berkman assessment was talking about how people see you from the outside. Sometimes you self-identify with and push towards that thing. Right now, I'm going through that with people saying, I'd love for you to come and speak on stage. I can do it now. And it was a fear of mine for a long time. I spelled a pyramid wrong. Actually, when I was little in elementary, people laughed. I left that little stage at my elementary and I was like, I'll never be in front of people again. I'm stupid.
Yeah.
And so I left high school thinking I'm stupid. I was never a good test taker. And I was afraid to speak in public, like till I was 40. It was like debilitating. I wouldn't even at Remax, I wouldn't even sit on a panel. Mike Ferry asked me to be on stage. I said no every single time. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not fulfilling my potential. I need to like speak about things I like and I'm passionate about. So I finally said yes when I was 40, did it. And then all of a sudden people keep asking me to do it. And I'm like, I don't enjoy it. I actually freak out 2 days before. I still am not having fun. I'm not that rah-rah person on stage. And I realized, you know what? I love to be on a panel. And I love to facilitate conversations. I love to have a one-on-one podcast. I love to be in a small group with people because I like to talk about tactical things and engage with the people that I'm speaking with. I don't need to be up there and be Tony Robbins or Tina Robbins. That's not me. And so because people see you as an extrovert and like you're good at this, you should do more of it. They start inviting you there and then you start doing it to maybe people please or push yourself. But I realized I never want to do that. I'll do it for a friend. I'll do it sometimes, but I'm not going to build a career on speaking. It's not my jam. And if I start doing it more, eventually I'm going to resent it so much. I'm going to start having PTSD about it and it's over. I'll never do it again. So I have to be very selective where I say yes and how it's done to make sure that it's within my joy or it's going to start being a job and I'm going to hate it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I get it. And it really comes down to really energy management. And, I'm the same as you, if my disc, you would laugh. The thing about the disc is it evolves the role that you're in, right? When I was head of company, it was DIC and that was kind of my nickname. Oh yeah. Hey, watch out. John's a dick. Right. And so, but like now I'm a CS and, for me to, when I get out on stage and do that stuff, like, I have to plan to recharge because I am exhausted, right?
Dead.
I would rather go run back-to-back 100-mile ultra marathons because I will have more energy after 100 miles than I do speaking on stage. But and I'm with you. But I understand that balance of the energy. And the reason, guys, we're sharing this is to give you guys some insight and some perspective, but also to put yourself in your people's shoes, and being able to look through that. So, Tina, as we're kind of wrapping up here with this conversation, looking at, the agents kind of like, hey, I'm built for this. I really want to go, kind of our concept from agent to CEO. I really want to step into that CEO role, embrace it. I'm ready. I'm building the McDonald's.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that they need to really be aware of? They need to be thinking about, they need to, to do immediately to go from, where they're at to that next level as a leader and building, a sustainable organization. And I know you'll appreciate this. So, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, has I forget how he puts it, but it's a self-sustaining, right? Self-organization.
Yeah.
But we got into a conversation in our last workshop, and it was around multipliers, creating people that multiply. And if you guys haven't read Multipliers, it's an incredible book. But it's creating leaders. Ultimately, it's leaders creating leaders, right? You're looking for people that multiply.
Love it.
And so one of the gentlemen in the workshop goes, well, self-managing, right? Hey, we're building a self-managing organization, but we were talking about multipliers. He's like, man, I would rather build a self-multiplying organization where my people are just multiplying and multiplying the people around them. I'm like, I can sign up for that.
Yes.
And so as we're growing, we're building this organization, we're really running the McDonald's. Like, where should agents be thinking about? Like, where make sure that they're in that right mindset, but what should they be thinking about, in looking forward to as they continue to grow into this market?
Well, I always think, as they have to know their role when they move into that. So for an agent on my team, they know that three things are their job: lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. Those are the only three that they need. Now on my team, lead generation, we have leads. So as an owner, my job is to train, to give community, to give leads, and to give accountability. Those are the four things that I have to provide. I think when you're thinking about growing something, you have to really look at what opportunities am I really bringing to these people? Anybody can go buy leads. Just because you can go buy leads doesn't mean that you've built a big enough name or a big enough relationship opportunity. I guess for me, like, I can go create opportunities and bring them to the team because of the work that I did in the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so just because you sell 20 homes your first year, or 30 or 50, let's say you sell 50 homes your first year, which people have done it, you still haven't created enough of a name in the community where it's trusted, where people are just like going to hand you things, give you opportunities. Lenders are willing to throw a bunch of money at you. So I think it's like building that trust to say, you know what, I've put in my time. I have built this thing. I have gone through the ups and downs. I am a proven success story. Now I can go into the next step to create opportunity. People will follow other people that are successful. And you don't have to be a successful leader. You have to just lead yourself successfully. And once you've led yourself successfully, there's trust there. Hey, she's done something. He's done something. I trust them to that point where I'm going to follow them. Now you've got the other problem of, okay, so they're following you. You brought them onto the team. Can you create opportunities? Can you buy leads and invest in the business? Do you have enough infrastructure or enough money in the bank to sustain this team? And then do I have the mindset where I'm going to go invest money into the business, hire somebody to build the team as I'm still funneling money? Like you said, Jay came out maybe too early the first time. Stay in that role, Jay. Pump money into this machine over here. I know you're going to be bummed, but 2 more years, buddy, in the trenches, so we can build this little puppy. And then you can come out and live the great, which you never stop working.
Go to Puerto Rico.
That now. Jay's still on calls every day, and he's
every day
$1 million a month or whatever he's making. So the point is, you never are stopping the work. You're stopping the role. And you're moving into another role, because Jay just he can turn the light off and go, whatever. But if I know who he is, he's never going to stop building. He's just a builder.
Never will stop. He
never will stop. My husband said that to me this morning. We were brushing my teeth and I said, honey, I love you so much. I'd give it all up for you. And he goes, no, you wouldn't. He's like, you'd never. I'm like, you're right. I would do something else, but that's how much I love you. And Kevin is completely retired. And that's a perfect example. He is retired. He is golfing every day. And I'm like, aren't you bored? Aren't you like freaking bored out of your entire mind right now? Like, do you feel like, are you happy? And he's like, I am so happy. I'm like, really? Like with just waking up and not having something to do. And he's like, yeah. He's like, you will never be happy there, but I'm happy. And so if he tries to pull me into that world, I would be frustrated. If I try to pull him into the business world, he will be frustrated. As long as we both aren't jealous of each other's worlds, I could go have what he has. I don't want it. And he could have what I have. He doesn't want it. As long as we're okay. And I'm not a wife that's like, oh, he's so lazy. What are you doing to contribute to the family? We built this together. Now go do what you want in your life and I'll do what I want. So I think that's it. It's just having that right mindset, having opportunity, having money in the bank. Do not exit that role quickly and make sure you understand yourself and all your weaknesses before you go into that team building role or any business venture actually. So all I got, John.
So good. Absolute gold. I love it. I love it. I appreciate you. You're definitely, when Dan and Kyle and Jay and Al and myself got together to kick this series off, you embody exactly what this was all about. And, just the amazing leaders that we have within this organization, within the Honey Badger Nation, and really being able to just pour back into the community at such a deep level. I can't thank you enough. And, for everybody listening in, if you guys aren't plugged in, paying attention, vacuuming up everything Tina's doing, I mean, you guys get plugged in, give her lots of love. And, man, I can't thank you enough.
No, you're so welcome. I enjoy it. And I love giving back, and I'm here if you need me.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. See ya.
See ya.